And then I guess when I was around, I guess it was fifth grade, my half brother, so we had the same dads, different moms. He became a Navy SEAL a few years prior to me being in fifth grade, but he was part of the Leapfrogs. And so that's a recruiting team for the SEAL teams. And they jump into stadiums and they put like smoke on their heels.
Oh, I seen
And they
those.
like, yeah, and they kind of do all kinds of crazy shit when they're jumping in. And I saw that when I was in fifth grade. He came to I grew up in Philadelphia, and he came to the air show, the Willow Grove Air Show. And then he jumped into the old Philadelphia Veterans Stadium for a baseball game. And I got to, he was there for an entire week. I got to see the whole thing. I got to see all the practice jumps. I got to wear like the old Philly Fanatic uh, mascot costume. And so I was like interacting with all these Navy SEALs for a week. And one key memory of that was my brother had a cutaway. So his chute didn't open properly. Uh, and he had a cutaway during one of his practice jumps and almost died and like acted like nothing happened. He came over, just like gave me a hug. And it was like at that moment, I was like, I want to fucking do that. Like, I want to be so badass that I can like do that, be calm, cool, and collected. And then from there, I went to be a Navy SEAL ever since I was in fifth grade.
So that was the point. Seeing your half brother, that was basically your motivation. That was your role model to jump into the military.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably like one of the most, it's
Influential.
probably the most defining moment of my entire life. Because ever since I mean, if you ask any of my childhood friends, ever since I was in fifth grade, I've always wanted to be a Navy SEAL. So like literally everything I did was Navy SEAL. If I had like a book report and I had an option to choose a book, it was about Navy SEALs. Like when I was, all my wrestling coaches knew I wanted to be a Navy SEAL, so they would push me a little harder. I mean, everyone knew that's what I wanted to do. To the point where I was a good wrestler. I took like second in a regional tournament in middle school, and I was supposed to be on varsity going to high school. I actually quit all sports to focus on being a Navy SEAL because I did the screening test, and all my wrestling coaches were telling me, "Hey, this is going to help you become a Navy SEAL." But right around then, I got wind of the the actual standards you needed to get into buds, and I couldn't actually pass it. Like the swim, I couldn't pass. The run, I could pass all the push-ups and all that kind of, but the swim, I couldn't. And I was like, I need to do something different. So I actually pissed off a lot of my all my coaches, baseball, football, wrestling. I quit all of it, and I started doing SEAL training academies. So there's this guy named Don Mann. He used to run adventure races. He was a former Navy SEAL, and then had Navy SEAL training camps for civilians. And I went to those and got like completely demolished in those. And I realized I needed to start training for those. So I did. Wound up doing three of those. So for 2 years, I didn't do any sports at all, and that's all I did. I basically just worked out solo. I would work out solo, and then periodically, I lived in Philadelphia. Drive down to Virginia Beach. My parents were awesome. Took me to these events, uh, and I would see where I was at. Um, and then finally, my senior year, I was passing all those events, and I knew I could pass the standards to get into buds, and I wound up playing sports again my senior year. But I only did wrestling and football my senior year, and I taking those 3 years off was not good. I didn't do, I wasn't like terrible, but I didn't do as good as I used to, um, and so I wanted to be Navy SEAL anyway. But then 9/11 was my senior year, so like
Wow.
I had toyed about maybe going to college, maybe becoming an officer. Uh, but then when 9/11 happened, there was two things. 9/11 happened, and I found out uh, Navy SEAL officers actually can't become like combat medics. They can't become comms guys. They don't become snipers. And so I was like, why the hell would I go to college to become a Navy SEAL if I can't do the cool shit?
Mm-hmm.
And then 9/11 happened. I was like I want to sign up now. So it was like literally like 2 months after 9/11. Went to the recruiter, started the whole process, and got signed up in 2001, and then graduated in 2002 in May, and then went straight into the military in July. So
So before